Standing at the crossroads of time, I find myself reflecting on a profound truth. Our world has long been intimately bound to the gifts of the earth. Long before modern skyscrapers and digital revolutions, life revolved around one vital resource: food. Every sunrise brought with it the promise of work in the fields as families and communities gathered to tend to their crops. In a time when agriculture was the heartbeat of civilization, nourishment was not only a means of survival, but also the essence of power and prestige. The ancient peoples cast food as both a channel for divine favor and the currency of empire. I imagine a life where every harvest was celebrated as a triumph, and every seed sown carried the weight of destiny. The cycles of planting and reaping were deeply intertwined with human ambition and the mandate given by the gods, forming the foundation upon which communities were built. Today, I take you on a journey back through centuries, a voyage to an era when the vibrant festivals of the Inca, the meticulous record-keeping of the Egyptians, and the tribute-laden systems of Mesopotamia testified to one undeniable truth. Food was the pulse of economic, spiritual, and political power. Each kernel of maize was a symbol, every sack of barley a proclamation of authority, and every ceremonial sacrifice a reaffirmation of a social contract as old as humankind itself. As I invite you to explore this storied past, remember that in every bountiful harvest lay the promise of renewal and the whisper of eternal change, reminding us that the very foundations upon which our modern societies are built were once forged on fields of golden grain. At the break of dawn, amidst the gentle hues of a May morning sky, envision more than 600 Inca youths arrayed in two precise rows, their richly embroidered garments reflecting the early light. In a sacred field bordered by rippling stalks of maize, these young warriors gather in an ancient ritual that transcends mere ceremony. I recount this scene with vivid detail as if it were unfolding before my eyes, each participant a living embodiment of power, tradition, and destiny. The soft murmur of their voices at first gives way to a rising, rhythmic chant known as the Haley, a military victory song that reverberates like echoes over the hills as the sun climbs higher. With every note sung, it becomes clear that this is far more than a celebration of harvest. It is an enactment of conquest, a reenactment of the eternal battle between man and nature, and a declaration of the ruling elite's sacred authority. In a seamless transition from ritual to celebration, the scene shifts as the newly initiated sons of Inca nobility begin to harvest the maize under the watchful gaze of the heavens. Their actions carry deep symbolism. The act of harvesting is not simply about gathering food. It is an assertion of order over chaos, a demonstration that the earth, though wild and untamed, can be conquered through the force of divine will and noble leadership. Later in the year, when the long shadows of August stretch across the land, the Inca king himself performs the hallowed act of plowing and planting in one of the few sacred fields reserved exclusively for the noble class. I witness him, a figure of immense authority and grace, breaking the ground as if defying the very spirit of nature. His act is watched by officials and commoners alike, each aware that only his hand can release the earth's hidden energies. The ritual does not end with the simple turning of soil. It expands into an elaborate celebration of sacrifice and renewal. Within the heart of the field, priestesses carefully pour chicha, the sacred maize beer, around a pristine white llama, invoking ancient appeals to protect the crops from frost, wind, and drought. The entire ceremony is a dance between the mortal and the divine, as offerings of silver, gold, and even precious lives are made to ensure that nature remains fertile under the benevolent rule of the elite. In this vibrant tapestry of ritual, every gesture reaffirms the notion that without the intervention of a powerful leader, the one who can figuratively defeat the earth, the people would surely face the perils of starvation and disarray. Thus, through carefully choreographed performances and symbolic acts, food becomes the magnet that draws forth and solidifies power, enshrining a system in which the ruling class maintains their right to order by commanding the very essence of life itself. Travel with me now to a time when grain and produce held intrinsic economic value, serving as the lifeblood of entire empires. In the great civilizations of Egypt and Mesopotamia, food was far more than mere sustenance. It was the means by which wealth was stored, exchanged, and circulated. Picture an ancient Egyptian estate. Vast fields stretching towards the horizon, meticulously divided and carefully managed by officials whose task was to guarantee that every kernel of barley and every measure of wheat found its way into the hands of those who controlled both land and destiny. Farmers tilled rented fields, their labor paying homage to their overlords through a share of their harvest, which was collected as both rent and tax. I envision the humble scribe penning down meticulous records and a tax collector making his way through the dusty streets, ensuring that tribute was paid in sacks of grain and jars of oil, each item a symbol of both labor and power. I trace the intricacies of this economic exchange further. Ancient letters, like those written by Hekanakte, serve as windows into the daily struggles and triumphs of life in a society both advanced and unyielding. In these exchanges, every measure of barley was assigned a value, every sack of wheat counted as a testament to social order, and even jars of oil were traded with a specific worth. In the bustling markets of Mesopotamia, similar practices prevailed. Here, food functioned as a natural currency, circulating not only within individual households, but also among temples, palaces, and noble families. The story unfolds as I portray the everyday lives of those who toiled under the watchful eyes of their rulers. Laborers building grand monuments, farmers working state-owned fields, and subjects offering tribute from distant lands. Each bushel of grain, each measure of produce, was at once a tribute to power and a contribution to the communal wealth. I am drawn into the narrative of Shang China and the Inca Empire as well, where the rhythm of daily life was orchestrated by seasons and harvests. In these realms, the provision of food was enshrined in law and custom, ensuring that every family, whether working their own plots or laboring for communal storehouses, contributed to the larger economic canvas. I illustrate how tribute, whether in the form of tangible foodstuffs or labor on noble estates, formed a continuous stream of wealth that flowed upwards through society. This upward movement of food and wealth reinforced the supremacy of those at the helm, creating a delicate balance where the common man's harvest fed the ambitions of kings. Through this intricate system, the ancient world demonstrated that the power to command food was equivalent to the power to command empires, a lesson etched in the soil and passed down from generation to generation. Deep within the realm of myth and mystery, I lead you into a sacred space where food transcends its earthly role, becoming nourishment for the gods. In the ancient temples of Egypt, Mesopotamia, and Mesoamerica, food was offered as a gift to the divine, an essential exchange that sustained both the heavens and the earth. I recall scenes where priests and priestesses performed elaborate rituals with heartfelt devotion, offering up carefully prepared feasts, delicate grains, and even the lives of sacrificial victims to appease deities whose favor was deemed essential for the fertility of the land. Amid the incense-filled air of a sunlit temple, I see animals being presented to divine images, their flesh a symbolic provision for gods who, as the ancient texts suggest, required sustenance just as mortals did. This ritual was more than a mere obligation. It was a celebration of life and a reaffirmation of the ancient covenant between humanity and the spiritual world. I journey further into the Mesoamerican lands where the Maya and Aztecs envisioned maize as the very flesh of the gods, a divine substance imbued with the power of life itself. In a mesmerizing portrayal of cosmic balance, I describe the sacred ceremonies in which human blood could transform into maize and back again, forging an eternal loop of nourishment and sacrifice. The Aztec rituals, known for their dramatic flair, cast victims, often prisoners of war or common souls marginalized by society, as offerings, raining them as tortillas for the gods. Though these sacrifices were grim to our modern eye, they were seen as high honors in a culture where participating in the grand cycle of life and death tethered the human realm to the divine. Similarly, I observed the Incas, whose rituals included offerings of llamas, guinea pigs, and even meticulously woven cloth set aflame in a final transcendent homage to the spiritual order. Throughout these vivid ceremonies, the act of feeding the gods was inseparable from the act of maintaining cosmic order. Every libation poured, every morsel offered, served as a reminder that the universe was a delicate balance, maintained only through these sacred exchanges. The elite, positioned as indispensable intermediaries between humanity and the divine, were entrusted with the task of conducting these rituals. Their power was magnified by the belief that without their offerings, the gods might withdraw their blessings, leaving the earth barren and humanity lost. In this world where spiritual and physical nourishment were one and the same, food was not only sustenance for the body, but also the luminous spark that kept the cosmos alight. Emerging from the mists of time, I now reflect on the enduring lessons etched into the fabric of our modern lives by our ancient forebears. The story of food in early civilizations is not only one of sacred ceremonies and economic might, it is also the origin of inequality. In those ancient fields, the bounty of the harvest was the marker of wealth, and the ability to command that bounty signified power. As I wander through the lingering echoes of history, I see that the privileges once reserved for kings, nobles, and priests have transformed into the modern pursuit of economic stability and social status. Today, while money has largely replaced food as the conventional measure of wealth, the old associations remain unmistakable. The term breadwinner endures, and lavish feasts continue to signify not only celebration, but also a demonstration of one's ability to command resources. I recall that in times gone by, rising surpluses enabled the accumulation of resources and heralded the division between the privileged few and the many who labored in the fields. This ancient arrangement, where a portion of the harvest was claimed as tribute, taxed in kind, or offered in sacrificial rites, set the stage for the inequalities that would shape societies for millennia. In wealthy modern urban centers, most people have drifted away from agricultural work, their roles specialized and far removed from the simple art of growing food. Yet even here, the modern fascination with organic gardens and locally grown produce hints at a deep, nostalgic yearning to reconnect with a more tangible source of nourishment and identity. In closing, I ponder on the staggering truth that the ancient compact between farmer and ruler, the divine exchange of sustenance, is echoed in today's social and economic systems. Through this long, winding narrative, we come to understand that every bite we take, every moment of nourishment, is imbued with the legacy of those who first tilled the land and forged the links between food, power, and life itself. Standing at modern tables set with abundance, we are reminded of an age-old covenant, that in feeding the earth and each other, we continue a profound tradition of balance, sacrifice, and renewal, a timeless testament to the enduring power of food.